Imagine a world where the Tudor name carries no weight, no Henry VIII reshaping religion, no Elizabeth I forging a golden age, no dynasty whose ambition carved the destiny of England. In our reality, the Tudors transformed a fragile kingdom into a rising European power. But remove Henry VII's improbable ascent after the Wars of the Roses, and an entirely different England emerges, one shaped not by Tudor will, but by the families and forces they replaced. What if the dynasty that birthed the English Reformation, broke with Rome, defeated the Spanish Armada, and defined modern monarchy never existed? In this alternate timeline, we step into a realm where England's culture, religion, international standing, and even national identity evolve along unfamiliar lines. A vastly different future begins the moment the Tudors vanish from history. But before we rebuild this New England, we must first understand how the Tudors managed to rise at all. History often hinges on moments so small, so fragile, that a single shift can erase an entire future. The Tudor dynasty, one of the most dramatic, influential, and transformative houses in English history, rose not through overwhelming strength, but through a combination of luck, timing, foreign support, and the chaos of civil war. Their ascent was never guaranteed. In fact, it was almost impossible. And in this alternate timeline, that impossibility finally wins. One tiny change in 1485 could erase the Tudors from history entirely. To understand how, we must return to the decisive moment, the Battle of Bosworth Field, where Henry Tudor, a relatively unknown exile with a flimsy claim to the throne, faced Richard III, the last English king to die in battle. In our timeline, a dramatic betrayal of Richard by the Stanleys delivered Henry the crown. But what if that betrayal never happened? What if Richard III held the loyalty of the Stanleys, or simply struck Henry down earlier in the clash? With Richard victorious, the Tudor line collapses instantly. Henry Tudor, his few supporters, and his fragile hopes of legitimacy die on the battlefield. There is no Tudor victory march into London, no dynastic rebirth, no red rose triumphing over white. This alternate outcome is especially plausible because Henry Tudor's claim was extraordinarily weak. His lineage came through the Beaufort line, descendants of illegitimate children of John of Gaunt, later legitimized but barred from royal succession. In medieval politics, this made Henry more of a symbolic figurehead for disaffected nobles than a rightful heir. Without French financial backing and without key English defectors, he was little more than a pretender with a banner. In our alternate world, once Richard III wins at Bosworth, the Tudors vanish from history in a single afternoon. And the consequences are immense. First, there is no Henry VIII, no tumultuous reign defined by divorces, breakaways from Rome, or bloody purges. There is no Elizabeth I, no Golden Age, no defeat of the Spanish Armada, no flowering of English identity under her long and stable rule. The Renaissance culture that thrived under Elizabeth finds no such patron here. Instead, England remains firmly under the House of York. Richard III, having eliminated the last major Lancastrian threat, now rules without the existential fear that plagued his real reign. His authority stabilizes, his rivals diminish, and his son Edward becomes the likely successor. Even if Richard dies young, the Yorkists retain solid control, creating a continuity the Tudors shattered. Foreign involvement shifts dramatically as well. In real history, France supported Henry Tudor to weaken Richard and destabilize England. But with Henry dead and the Tudor claim extinguished, France has no reason to meddle, and no convenient puppet to manipulate. England's political landscape becomes far less entangled with continental schemes. However, Yorkist dominance comes with two possible futures. One is stability. Richard III reforms his image, secures alliances, and ushers in a calmer post-war England. The other is continued civil conflict, as other Yorkist or Lancastrian claimants emerge to challenge the throne in a prolonged continuation of the Wars of the Roses. But even in chaos, the Tudors remain absent. Their bloodline simply never gains traction again. The succession under Yorkist rule could involve Edward of Middleham, Richard's son, or potentially the de la Poles, Yorkist nobles with genuine royal lineage. Their dominance reshapes English politics, preventing the massive ideological transformation the Tudors would later unleash. This is the point where the ripple becomes a tidal wave. The moment the Tudor claim dies, the world changes, not just politically, but culturally and socially. But the true shockwave isn't political, it's religious. Because without the Tudors, the great rupture that defined Europe, the English Reformation, never begins. Few events altered the soul of England more profoundly than the Reformation, yet in our alternate timeline, that spiritual earthquake never happens. Because the Reformation was not inevitable. It was born from the personal desires, frustrations, and political maneuvers of one man, Henry VIII. Remove him from history, and the religious landscape of England shifts entirely. No Tudors means no divorce crisis, and no English Reformation. Without Henry VIII's desperate quest to annul his marriage to Catherine of Aragon, England never challenges the authority of the Pope. There is no radical break from Rome, no act of supremacy, no sudden religious revolution imposed from the throne. Instead, the kingdom remains firmly, almost unquestioningly, Catholic, just as it had been for centuries. This has immediate consequences. The vast monastic network that Henry so ruthlessly dismantled survives. In our timeline, the dissolution of the monasteries destroyed thousands of religious houses, libraries, farms, and schools, redistributing their wealth to the crown and the nobles. In this alternate world, these monasteries continue functioning as they always had, centers of learning, charity, economic productivity, and social welfare. They support the poor, educate local children, treat the sick, and provide stability to rural communities. England retains its medieval backbone of spiritual and economic life. The absence of religious upheaval also means England avoids the violent rebellions sparked by sudden change. There is no pilgrimage of grace, no massive uprising against the destruction of the old faith. The population remains spiritually unified, not torn between traditional Catholicism and emerging Protestant factions. Without this trauma, the relationship between crown and commoners is far less strained. Moreover, the violent oscillation of religious identity under the Tudor successors disappears entirely. There is no Protestant zeal under Edward VI, no fiery Catholic restoration under Mary I, and no cautious Protestant consolidation under Elizabeth I. Instead, England experiences what many Catholic nations did: slow, cautious reform within the Church rather than rebellion against it. England might resemble Spain, France, or even Portugal, deeply Catholic, occasionally reformist, but never fully breaking from the papacy. This religious continuity reshapes foreign policy. In our timeline, Henry VIII's break from Rome isolated England and led to shifting alliances across Europe. But in this alternate world, England becomes a loyal Catholic state with strong ties to the Pope and major Catholic royal houses, such as the Habsburgs. Marriage alliances trend towards Spain, Portugal, or Naples rather than Protestant German states or isolated, post-Reformation powers. Over time, England's monarchy and nobility evolve into a culturally conservative elite, more aligned with traditional Catholic courts than with the rebellious spirit of Northern Europe. This slows the pace of intellectual transformation as well. The English Renaissance still occurs, but it emerges under the influence of Catholic scholars, monastic libraries, and church-supported universities. Crucially, the absence of religious trauma shapes national psychology. Elizabeth I's real reign was defined by threats of Catholic plots, Jesuit infiltration, and Spanish invasion. In this alternate world, England avoids such pressures entirely. There is no religious paranoia, no executions of priests, no tightening of national identity around Protestantism. Instead, English identity grows from continuity, tradition, and Catholic heritage. The ripple effect is enormous. English literature, politics, law, education, and even worldview become more conservative, more hierarchical, and more stable. The clashes, rebellions, and ideological battles that shaped modern Britain never ignite. And without the Tudors' ambitious marriages and alliances, England's place in Europe shifts dramatically. In the next section, we explore how a Catholic, conservative England navigates a continent of rising empires, and what happens when the world modernizes without the Tudor vision to push it forward. Elizabeth I stands as one of the defining figures of European history, a monarch whose political skill, charisma, and vision transformed England from a fragile kingdom into a rising imperial power. But in our alternate timeline, where the Tudors never rise, Elizabeth is never born. Europe never encounters the Virgin Queen who shaped diplomacy, defied empires, and cultivated a golden age of culture. In this timeline, there is no Virgin Queen to build an empire. Without Elizabeth, England loses the golden era that propelled it toward global influence. There is no Elizabethan court dazzling Europe with pageantry, no flourishing intellectual atmosphere encouraging daring, humanistic expression, no stable, long reign to unify the nation after years of turmoil. Instead, England remains a modest, traditional, Catholic kingdom, far more cautious and far less ambitious. The ripple begins with war, or rather, the absence of one. The famous conflict between England and Spain, culminating in the defeat of the Spanish Armada in 1588, never occurs as we know it. England is still Catholic, closely aligned with Rome, and politically friendly toward Catholic superpowers like Spain and the Habsburg Empire. Instead of defying Philip II, England may seek his approval or even bind itself through marriage diplomacy. Without this military turning point, England never proves itself as a naval rival. Spain maintains dominance of the Atlantic, while France retains influence over the Channel. England's navy remains functional but unexceptional, dedicated to defense rather than global ambition. This shift profoundly affects cultural and artistic development. The Elizabethan Golden Age, a period bursting with theater, poetry, music, architecture, and innovation, simply doesn't happen. Talent still exists, of course. William Shakespeare still grows up, writes, and performs. But without Elizabeth's patronage system, and without the vibrant, cosmopolitan court that celebrated the arts, his career looks very different. He may focus on morality plays, Catholic themes, or works commissioned by the church or noble Catholic patrons. His boldness might be subdued, his historical plays less politically charged, his mythic image far less prominent. The English Renaissance arrives later and more cautiously, guided by monastic scholarship rather than the dynamism of Elizabeth's court. England becomes a follower of continental trends rather than a leader. Exploration slows dramatically. Without Elizabeth's encouragement, without her approval of daring seafarers, figures like Sir Francis Drake, Walter Raleigh, and John Hawkins do not gain royal support. Privateering collapses. English expeditions to the New World shrink to small-scale ventures or fade into obscurity entirely. Spain and Portugal continue controlling oceanic trade routes, while France dominates much of North American exploration. England, instead of racing toward empire, settles into the role of a mid-tier Catholic kingdom, influential enough to matter but never dominant. Its foreign policy centers on marriage alliances rather than military challenges. Royal unions with Spain, Austria, or France become strategic tools to strengthen legitimacy and secure peace. The English court resembles those of Catholic Europe, formal, ritualistic, and heavily influenced by continental fashions. This results in greater European influence over English politics and society. The monarchy follows Catholic convention, and England becomes a participant in the complex web of Habsburg and Valois power struggles, not an independent force shaping global destiny. The spirit of defiance and self-definition that marked Elizabeth's reign simply never emerges. Diplomacy replaces daring. Caution replaces confidence. Continuity replaces transformation. But perhaps the biggest shift of all happens across the ocean, because without Elizabeth's support for colonization and naval expansion, England's role in the New World, its eventual rise as a global superpower, takes a dramatically different path. The next section explores how the absence of the Tudors reshapes the fate of America, empire, and the entire world. The Tudor era didn't just transform England. It propelled the kingdom onto the world stage. Under Henry VIII and especially Elizabeth I, England embraced the sea, encouraged privateers, backed explorers, and sowed the seeds of an empire. But in our alternate timeline, without the Tudors' aggressive naval ambitions, England never undergoes this transformation. What does a world look like when England never becomes a naval superpower? The answer reshapes the map of the entire planet. Without Elizabethan patronage, the early English voyages across the Atlantic never gain momentum. Figures like Drake, Raleigh, and Hawkins fade into obscurity, their expeditions unfunded and their dreams unrealized. Exploration becomes a slow, sporadic effort initiated by merchants, not the bold, state-backed projects of Tudor England. The result is dramatic. Colonization is delayed by decades, even centuries. In the vacuum left by England, Spain and Portugal tighten their grip on the Americas. Spain's dominance extends further north. Territories that in our world later became the English 13 colonies may instead become Spanish frontier regions filled with Catholic missions, fortified towns, and indigenous alliances. Portuguese traders extend influence across Atlantic waterways, leveraging stronger naval capabilities than this alternate England ever develops. Meanwhile, France enjoys a massive geopolitical advantage. Without English competition, French claims in Canada, the Great Lakes region, and the Mississippi expand unchallenged. A French-controlled North America becomes not just plausible but likely. French language and Catholic culture spread deep into the continent, supported by powerful alliances with Native American nations. The English language itself grows slowly and remains mostly confined to Europe, without a vast overseas empire to carry it across continents. English becomes a regional tongue rather than a global lingua franca. French, Spanish, or even Portuguese may become the default languages of diplomacy, trade, and international culture in the modern world. This also means the foundations of English identity shift dramatically. No Jamestown, no Plymouth, no Puritan migration, no Protestant settlements carving new societies across the Atlantic. The spirit of independence and constitutionalism that flowed back from the colonies and later influenced British politics never develops. England's culture remains rooted in medieval Catholic traditions, aristocratic hierarchy, and agricultural life. Economically, England lags behind. Without colonial wealth or transoceanic trade, the nation remains heavily agrarian well into the 17th and 18th centuries. The industrial boom still comes eventually, but slower and on a smaller scale. Continental powers, with their colonial profits, lead innovation, manufacturing, and commerce. Even the monarchy evolves differently. With stronger alignment toward Catholic Europe, royal marriages pull England toward continental culture, ceremony, and political entanglements. Instead of seeing itself as an isolated island power, England sees itself as part of a large Catholic network of royal alliances. This dynamic also affects the British Isles. Instead of uniting under the Stuarts in 1603 due to dynastic succession, England and Scotland might unite earlier through marriage agreements, forming a unified Northern Catholic realm. Ireland, too, changes significantly. Without Tudor conquests or Protestant plantations, Ireland remains culturally and religiously Catholic, with fewer forced settlements and less resentment toward English rule. The bitter conflicts that defined later centuries may never emerge, or emerge much later in a different form. England avoids major colonial conflicts for 150 to 200 years. There is no Anglo-Spanish War, no struggle for naval dominance, no early rivalry with France in the New World. England becomes a quiet participant in global affairs rather than a central imperial force. This is a world where oceans belong to Iberia, where colonies speak French and Spanish, where the Catholic Church stretches across continents, and where England remains a secondary power content with stability rather than empire. So what does this world mean for modern history? The implications stretch far beyond England, altering the balance of languages, religions, ideologies, and power structures across the globe. The next section unravels the immense modern consequences of a world without Tudor ambition. Our world was sculpted by Tudor ambition, by monarchs who shattered traditions, challenged empires, and thrust England onto the global stage. But remove them and everything changes. Erase the Tudors, and you erase the engine of England's transformation. Their rise was never guaranteed. It was fragile, improbable, and shaped by razor-thin chances on the battlefield and in the throne room. Yet from that unlikely victory came shockwaves. the Reformation, the Elizabethan Golden Age, and the birth of a worldwide empire. Without them, England remains quieter, more Catholic, more inward-looking. Europe becomes more Spanish, more French, more dominated by continental powers. The English language, English identity, and English influence shrink dramatically. The Tudors were not simply monarchs, they were history's accelerators, pushing England and the world into modernity centuries ahead of schedule. In the end, the Tudors didn't just change England, they changed the